I wanted this video to be talking about my diagnosis, to talk about how I found out what I have, what I'm suffering from, but I can't do that because although I did schedule an appointment with a doctor today, it was not my primary doctor. In fact, it was the doctor that I had when I went in to see them about this, what I assume, and what I continue to assume is a staph infection. I say I assume that because blood work was never done, the area was never tested. She was an awful doctor then, but at the time I chalked it up to her just having a bad day. Whatever the case may be. I feel bad, but whatever. Wish it would have been my primary. That said, I'm going to save more conversation about that stuff in today's visit toward the end of the video. The reason I went in today, though, and I actually had considered going to the hospital again for I don't know how many times this month, but generally speaking, I considered going back there again because of some new symptoms that had kind of cropped up. I don't want to say that they're new. I've definitely been suffering from them, but a couple of days ago, it was really severe. I still was able to crank out a video, thankfully, and I'm very happy I did it early in the morning because the rest of the day I felt like crap, and I have generally been feeling unwell at the very least, not like my normal self for the better part of this year at this point. I don't want to say it's been 3 months, but I know it has been. I can look at the prescription bottle I was given in the past and see, oh yeah, that's from a few months ago. Well, anyway, I say this because I was fearful. Like I said, going by the assumption, if for no other reason than to play it safe that I had a staph infection, I wanted to make sure it didn't progress. However, the prescription I was given was for an antibiotic that, again, I want to make clear I was not tested for, but anyway, was given this antibiotic. Okay, so I took it, and when I ran out, I wanted to get some more. It obviously hadn't gone away. Granted, I know it's just an appearance thing, so there's always the possibility that it is gone, that it's no longer there, and that's just going to linger for a while as it continues to heal. I get that. But I didn't generally feel well, either. So I thought, either it's gone and something else is going on here, or it's not gone. It's still festering. Something else is going on here as well. So, like I said, finally was able to get an appointment set up with this doctor. Again, unfortunately the same one I had last time, but I got in there and I was not prescribed anything. In fact, in the 3 minutes that I was in there, basically nothing happened. Although I scheduled this appointment because of symptoms I was suffering from, my doctor came in and said, "You look great." That was the appointment, essentially. It did end off with, "I hear you're having trouble sleeping. Here's some things I can recommend: melatonin and sleepy time tea." And it's like, that's great. Cool, but I am suffering from things right now. I am in pain. Can I talk to somebody? Can I get some blood work done? No blood work. Again, I found that odd. Anyway, here's the thing though. I was worried because something that happened kind of recently, mostly with my neck. You see, with a staph infection, there is the rare chance, and I want to stress that it is rare, of complications from that disease, from it progressing further into your system, including other diseases like bacterial meningitis. And that is nothing to joke about. Bacterial meningitis can be fatal, especially if it's not addressed. In fact, more often than not, it's going to be, right? So I wanted to do my due diligence and make sure as soon as possible that I at the very least had an answer. I'm ready to get a lumbar puncture. I'm ready to get my blood work done. I want to know. But recently, I noticed there was a change. Now, my symptoms weren't really aligning with meningitis, but they were aligning with something else. In fact, nearly 1-for-1 was the overlap. And I found this one interesting because I do have a family member with an autoimmune disorder. Well, this was technically not autoimmune disorder because I guess we don't know exactly what triggers it, what causes it, but it is an illness called dermatomyositis. In a nutshell, it's a fancy way of saying your immune system kind of attacks your muscles, it can attack your joints, and it can attack your skin. Okay, so what do I do with this, right? Here's the thing. Some of these symptoms are things that I think I've had underlying for a while longer than this because I have noticed them before the staph infection. But dermatomyositis is something that can be triggered. It's something that can go into remission and be triggered again later. You may never suffer from it again, or it can be triggered once and you suffer from it for the rest of your life. But I imagine it's possible that I've always had a little tinge of this thing here. Or it's entirely within my head and I don't know this because I do not want to diagnose myself. I have no medical experience at all. And it's irresponsible for me to think and to go around telling people this is what I have because I can't know that. But at the very least, I do know what my symptoms are. And I know that the symptoms align, as I mentioned, near 1-for-1. And I noticed this because of my neck, because of a rash and a bit of swelling. And I don't want to say rash, because I guess rash kind of implies an itchiness, but I know that those are two separate things, right? But a general discoloration, a general strange kind of feeling. And so I continued to look at this, and I noticed, oh yeah, some of this other stuff is making a lot of sense too. I've noticed I've been weaker. Not weaker in the sense that I haven't been exercising, but not even able to lift things I used to be able to lift just a couple of months ago. As somebody who continually rides my bike, as somebody who continually exercises when I'm able, and as somebody who lifts quite heavy things pretty much all the time. I mean, the Bionicle stuff here, some of this can be quite, heavy, and I'll lift it frequently. No issues there. So noticing this, and noticing that my general activity hasn't changed, but that strength has changed quite notably in just this year of 2024, tells me something at the very least has got to give here, right? So again, I don't know that I have this. In fact, I don't even want to consider that I do, because I know that it can be a lifelong complication, but I'm also prepared for it if it turns out to be the case, because I gotta be, right? All we can do, all we are in control of is our future. All we are in control of is the steering wheel that we're holding right now, but that reverse pedal is broken. We don't get to go back. We don't get to find the cause. All we get to know is, okay, here are the cards in our hand right now. And we work with what we got. And that's what I'll have to deal with. And, fingers crossed, it's nothing. Fingers crossed, it's psychosomatic or whatever. My brain is making this stuff up for me. That would have been strange, though, since I didn't know the symptoms before they started appearing, and usually with something that's going to be psychosomatic, you would know the symptoms and your body would recreate those symptoms from your, I don't want to say knowledge. I don't know how that stuff works. Like I said, the body is fascinating. But at the very least, I'd never heard of this disease before. And the only way that I found it was when looking specifically about this neck issue, because I didn't have neck pain. I didn't have neck stiffness. What I did have was this redness, this warm feeling. And I say feeling because my neck wasn't actually warm. Temping it was normal, if not a little under body temp, which makes sense. And I got a confirmation on that as well. I had them check it today just to make sure. Not the doctor, of course, the nurse, because the nurse was attentive. Let's go ahead and talk about today's experience. My doctor was crap. I'm going to be honest. And I feel bad saying that. I'm not going to get into names and stuff here because that's not the point. And I hope, for the sake of other patients, that she treats them better than she treated me. But it's very clear that she was not interested in this interaction. What got me, though, was that I spent so much time talking to and going into great detail with my nurse, who was very attentive, followed up with the right kinds of questions I would expect. And followed up with generally, your history on this type of stuff, or your family history, the things you suffer from, the things you don't normally suffer from, what is your normal, right? Establishing that sort of relationship, that familiarity. And that all makes sense to me. So when this doctor came in, I wanted some of that, but that wasn't what I got. I saw the door open, her say, hello, take your mask down. And I just opted to wear a mask. It wasn't required, but no harm done, right? And so I did. And she's like, oh, you look better. And that was it. Right at that moment, she had made her decision that we're not going to give you any more medicine, and we're not going to do anything else either. And she said, if you want follow-up, you're going to have to see your primary care doctor. Well, my primary care doctor is not here. He's booked for at least a while. And, you both work at the same location, so could you cut me some slack here and just say, even if you're not allowed for legal reasons, whatever the case may be, to prescribe me anything, which isn't the case because she had prescribed me in the past without knowing anything about me. And in fact, the two medicines that she prescribed me, had I taken them together, which she did not tell me, could have led to some really serious complications. So I'm glad I did my research because she didn't tell me about these medicines. She didn't tell me what they were. I left there thinking I had a bacterial infection. She never mentioned it once. She did not bring it up. She did not mention the word staph infection, which is why I can't know for sure that that's what I had. But I had the general symptoms, and I had the general appearance of what would belie a staph infection. And again, because I know how dangerous those can be, I wanted to treat it as such. Because the worst case scenario is I didn't have it. It was all in my head. It was just a big piece of acne or, whatever the case may be. And fine, I'll get over that. But at the very least, if I know it's a staph infection and I treat it as though it is such, doing the right thing there too, right? And I didn't suffer any side effects that I'm aware of from that antibiotic. Maybe one day it's possible, but it could have just been me suffering from the illness itself. And it was several days after I had started taking it, so it wouldn't have made sense anyway, but generally speaking, I've been sick a few times this year. It's not normal for me. Well, anyway. So it's not possible that she couldn't prescribe me anything. But at the very least, I know for a fact it is possible she could have ordered blood work. At the very least, could have said, okay, well, schedule with your primary as soon as you can. He can follow up with this stuff since he knows your history better than I do. And I mean, they share notes, so it's all there for them both. He's not been my primary for long, but I do like him. But at the very least, could have followed through with me and said, okay, well, let's at least do some blood work. Let's test for these couple of things, whatever your suspicions are, whatever the case may be. And I know that some of that stuff's expensive, but I'm paying for it. My insurance is paying for it, right? So do it. You know, poke my arm or give me a lumbar puncture if I need to test for meningitis, whatever the case is. I just want to feel better. Or if not feel better, at least know what is going on so I'm not left unknowing. So I'm not left dwelling in my own thoughts of, oh, could this be this? Turning it into something it's not, you know? Or stressing about it, a thing that could also cause this to get worse if it is what I suspect it to be. So again, do not take what I say here as medical advice because it's not it. I'm talking specifically about myself in my situation as someone unknowing of what I am suffering from. I cannot know. I do not have the credentials for that. But at the very least, I know that I'm not normal feeling. So take me at my word on that. And if you're a medical professional, listen to your patients. They really appreciate it. Some of them are going to be arrogant. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a hospital just to hear somebody screaming when they get turned by a doctor. Some of them don't like hospitals. I get it. It's tough. It's a sucky job. Don't get me wrong. But it's also a worthwhile job. And it's worth knowing that the thing you're doing is saving and helping a lot of people. It's not always going to be fun. It's not always going to be perfect. But treat them with respect because they deserve that at the very least. Anyway. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Also, if you notice anything with me like stumbling over my words, that's another thing. That said, though, I'm trying to catch that as best as I possibly can. And of course, as always, if you enjoy this content, make sure you're subscribed. It gets us closer to that 4,000. We're nearing, if not already passing, 3,200 subscribers already. So thank you all so much for watching and continuing to watch and support the channel. If you want to support the channel, I do have a Patreon linked down in the description below. And you can also check out the Discord and Instagram if you want to take this one further. And let me know your thoughts on the American healthcare system, I guess, and your experience with that. You can do that down in the comments or again, that Discord. It's free to join and there are 650 of us over there. We'd love to hear from you. Take care.